Okay, so you've probably heard these three letters floating around everywhere lately: ESG. And let's be clear, this isn't just another corporate buzzword. It's a really powerful framework that's starting to change, well, just about everything in the business world, from how we measure success to where the big money flows.
To really get it, let's start with a question. For the longest time, we've judged companies on one thing, right? The bottom line, profit. But what if that was only a tiny part of the story? What if their report card also graded them on how they treat the planet, how they treat people, and, whether they're run with integrity? That's the huge idea right at the heart of ESG.
All right, so let's actually break this down. What do E, S, and G really stand for? I love the subtitle here, A New Report Card for Business. It's the perfect way to think about it. This is about getting a much more complete, kind of 360-degree view of what makes a company tick in today's world. So there it is, environmental, social, and governance. These are the three big pillars that investors and even customers are now looking past the spreadsheets. It's a shift from just asking, hey, is this company making money right now, to asking a much bigger question. Is this company actually built to last?
First up, the E, environmental. This one's pretty straightforward. It's all about a company's actual physical impact on the planet. We're talking about things you can measure, like what are their carbon emissions? Are they efficient with resources like water? Do they have a real plan for dealing with climate change? It's their environmental footprint, pure and simple. Then we have S for social, and this is all about people, about relationships. How does a company treat its own employees? Are they paid fairly? Are working conditions safe? But it also extends outwards to its customers and to the communities where it operates. You could call it the human side of the business.
And finally, wrapping it all up, we have G for governance. Think of this as the how. How is the company actually run from the very top? Is the board of directors doing its job? Is executive pay out of whack? Is the company transparent? Is it led ethically? You see, good governance is the foundation that makes sure the E and the S are even possible.
Okay, so that's the what. But the bigger and maybe more interesting question is the why. Why now? Why has ESG suddenly gone from this kind of niche, feel-good topic to something that's discussed in every boardroom? Let's dig into that.
It really boils down to these 5 huge drivers that all kind of feed into each other. On one side, it's just smart business. It helps companies spot and manage hidden risks, and as we're about to see, it often leads to better financial results. But on the other side, it's about massive market pressure. Stakeholders are demanding it, it opens doors to funding, and at the end of the day, it gives you a serious competitive edge. This quote right here gets to the heart of a major myth. For a long, long time, people just assumed that focusing on things like sustainability would hurt the bottom line, but that idea is getting completely turned on its head. Study after study is finding the exact opposite. Companies that do well on ESG often do well financially. The big takeaway, this isn't charity. This is about building a stronger, more resilient business. And this isn't some top-down mandate. The push for this is coming from literally everywhere. Investors are asking the tough questions, customers are voting with their wallets, choosing brands that align with their values, and maybe most importantly, employees, especially younger talent, they want to work for companies they can actually believe in. It's a change across the entire system. So, we've got the what and the why. Now let's get practical. How does this all actually work in the real world, day to day? We're going to focus on the world of investing, because that's where you can see the impact most clearly. This slide just lays out the shift perfectly. Traditional investing had one job: make as much money as possible, full stop. ESG investing changes the game by adding a second equally important goal. Yes, you still want financial returns, absolutely, but you're pursuing them while also thinking about a company's impact on the world. It's about investing for both profit and purpose. So, how do investors do this? Well, they've got a few tools in their toolkit. Some use what's called negative screening, which is basically making a do not invest list for certain industries like tobacco or firearms. The flip side is positive screening, where they go out and actively look for the leaders, the best-in-class companies. And then a really powerful tool is engagement, where big shareholders use their influence to push companies to do better. Now, of course, for any of this to work, you can't have everyone just making up their own rules. You need standards so you can compare apples to apples. That's where these frameworks come in. Think of it like this. GRI is your big comprehensive report on everything. SASB gets more specific, telling you which ESG issues actually affect the bottom line for a certain industry. And TCFD is laser-focused on just one thing, the financial risks of climate change. This is the plumbing that makes it all work.
When you see all this momentum building, it really starts to feel like we're redefining what it means to be a good business. So the question is, where does this all go from here? What's the next chapter for ESG?
You can just see the journey here, and man, is it picking up speed. ESG started as just an idea, a little bit of awareness. Then it moved into this phase of voluntary reporting, where a few brave companies started sharing data. We're right here, in the now, building out those standardized frameworks. So what's next? Well, the path is pointing toward full-on mainstream integration, where ESG isn't a separate thing anymore. It's just part of how business is done. And a huge driver for that future is just smarter risk management. Looking at a business through an ESG lens helps you spot at least 6 critical kinds of risk that the old models just completely missed. We're talking about things like regulatory risks from new laws, supply chain risks from wild weather, reputational risks from a scandal, and so many more. It's just a much, much smarter way to see the whole picture.
All right, let's boil this all down. What are the big things to remember? 1, ESG is that more complete report card for companies. 2, it's proving that doing good for the world and doing well financially can absolutely go hand in hand. 3, it's changing the rules for both companies and investors. And 4, it's a vital tool for managing the kinds of risks that are becoming more and more important every day.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought. For over 100 years, the profit and loss statement, the P&L, has been the document, the ultimate measure of success. The defining question for the business world right now is whether a company's performance on environmental, social, and governance issues will become just as normal, just as fundamental to check as its P&L. And honestly, all the signs are pointing to a resounding yes.